I've seen Curly Doc. The image of it, I just never knew that that's what it was called.
Mm,
Yeah, that would be worth
I can't
looking up.
believe it. And it's so invasive. It has so many seeds on it. So every time it starts growing, it's like thicker and thicker. And I'm like, is that the old garden growing back?
Mhm.
And so it's like, nah, it's good for bowel movement or stimulating your bowels. And so I'm
Mm.
like, well, maybe we need it. I got one. I'm gonna dehydrate it and then take it as a tea. See how it go.
Wow.
But yeah, y'all, we are back. We got cut off.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm eating a chip, but it was on my herbs and we just it all went down. So we're back. This is gonna be a separate video. And so again, all my social media is Styles by Nina, Styles by Nina LLC, and Styles by Nina Urban Intellectual. Everything's on the link tree. It'll be in the description box. Don't forget to like, share, and I know y'all probably wonder why I gotta slow it down when I get this one. Because you have to be very intentional. You have to like, share, and comment. Don't forget to subscribe or follow all y'all know all the lingo for the platforms. Show us some love. We're trying to monetize and create these 7 streams of income. I'm going for 13. I'll take 13.
Mm.
And so that's what we're trying to do. Also, don't forget to show our personal businesses love. I support Melanated Business. This brother on Instagram made me this bracelet, and I love it.
Oh, it's
Absolutely.
beautiful.
And look, I think his name is Level Up. Let me check. Since I'm a plug, let me plug right. I just love the customer service. He originally made me a bracelet. I have sensitive skin, and then when I buy jewelry, I like really jewelry, not the little fake chains linked to the jewelry. That's one way for me not to support your business again. And so it don't be me being funny, but it's just like when I see copper, I don't want copper connected to something that's gonna fade. That's just
Mhm.
not my thing. And so he was like, "No, I want you completely satisfied." And so the one with the copper and the link, I gave it to my seed, and he remade me one, and I appreciate him. And so that is Level Up Art Movement, and it's LEVELUPART movement underscore. And so they have beautiful jewelry on their page. I've always wanted to support. I love people that can actually wrap copper and silver hand wrap. I love it. And so y'all go over there and check some pieces out. He has a lot of pieces. I just needed a bracelet to replace my old chakra bracelet. This one
Mm.
didn't quite make it. And so some of the gems are gone. I ended up breaking a couple of these little brackets. This young lady made this one. And I used some of the beads for a wand. And so I was just trying to replace that. But yeah, I just love us. So don't forget to support us too. We have both have small businesses. We
Mhm.
both are into skin and hair care, just natural lifestyle and living. We are the creators. And so in that, I try to find as many things that I can make natural and organic. And so with that, I make all of our soaps and stuff like that. And so don't forget to support. I do not sell the body butter year round, y'all. I apologize for that. I know y'all love it. You're like, what? It's a deadline? Yeah. And so don't forget I make oils too. And this year we're making oils with those roses. And so it's gonna be very potent because I'm gonna extract the rose oil myself personally, with the oil and alcohol for like I make rose water for my face. And I use witch hazel. And so I make a little potion of the witch hazel with rose water, but just it's gonna be all throughout next season's body butter. And so I think it's gonna be beautiful as far as the color as well. Something about red is just sensual to me. And so I'm excited about that. And so just holler at us. Jim Marie, you wanna go ahead and plug? It's our last chapter.
Yeah, you wanna did you tell everybody about your podcast?
Yeah, I know the podcast is really secret. I'm gonna let y'all in one more time. It's really secret because it's for people who don't want their identity known. Just for y'all, I'm gonna whisper. Convos from Cloud9. If you want to be a part of the podcast, just reach out. You have to have your own incognito name ready. I am Reggie Miller over there. And it's Convos from Cloud9. We usually burn it down and talk about what's going on in the world. And so it is a vibe, I ain't gonna lie. It's way up there. But that's what it is. And so feel free to reach out. You can't come forth with, any agendas, but if you want to participate and talk about these world events, let's do it. I love it. So thank you for making me plug that.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was that secret squirrel. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, people, most of my comrades, y'all know y'all very important people. And so they don't be really want nobody to know because they do have professions in which they are having to be very professional.
I get it.
Yeah, we'll screen you through, and if you want to be a part, I am being played in all the countries, and so it is like a thing. Don't miss out. But I love it. I love podcasts though. It's just the freedom.
Yeah. Something about just letting your voice be heard without having to. It's just a different vibe. It really is. I can't even really put a finger on it, but
and the reach. It's reaching. And so you gonna tell them about your podcast?
Yes, When We Think of Us, it is a podcast where we just, as melanated women, empower ourselves to uplift our communities, essentially. And so we just talk about all things life, motherhood, singlehood, you name it, whatever our experiences are, we're talking about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it's also us supporting us.
Yes.
It's a big deal.
That's what's so important. The business that you just plugged for the jewelry, I apologize, I don't remember the name of it, but it's so important to cherish these people, the creators who actually care and are passionate about their creations. Like, we want to highlight that and be able to support each other's ability to create whatever that is. Like, we're all creators in some shape, and we need to build our community in a way that we can support one another, so that that like when you were just talking about the scarcity mindset, Nina, it's like when you've got community that doesn't exist, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Especially when you're talking about seeds, like that's of the earth, you teaching somebody how to cultivate that and sustain things for themselves, so that if you low, they got something to give right back to you to plant and harvest. That's
absolutely. Absolutely. And then with, like you said, when you shared on your podcast, when you had Grow with YOLO on, and she cultivated this seed and she shared that seed with you. And so that's absolutely.
And you know what? And to expound on that, I had none for myself, started for myself. And it was just like, wow, I really wanted to do this, but I waited too late. Life happened. And it was like,
here you go.
Here you go. And I had tons. I had abundance that whole season, like even that late.
It reminds me of I'm sorry. I got a slight delay. But it reminds me of what we just read when
Yes.
it's when it was talking about Kim. Kim no push Jennifer down to the ground, honey. She Kim was in her fist. She counting Jennifer's gatherings. See, me and Kim we going at it. Kim was out in Jennifer basket and pushed her down. Who does that? And it's like, oh, she realized, yeah, we have different things to offer.
Yes.
So just because somebody is not bringing exactly what it is that you're bringing doesn't mean they bring. Oh, that's a whole word. Pass the collection.
Okay.
Pass the collection plate.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a
Kim,
word.
Jennifer brought them in.
Yes,
You would have
which
been good and
in
single,
turn,
Kim.
her bringing them in come through Jennifer.
Okay.
Then Kim was nothing but abundant because now Kim ain't in such a bad mood. Okay.
Right. Kim, Jennifer just saved you. Like you could have
Yes.
been just down and out. Just
Yes. You could have been going into the ground. And I tell people this all the time. And it's very vulgar. Anybody know my content is straightforward, okay? Are you gonna just let the thing gray on up and you gonna retire that thing? Like you gotta keep it out there while it's fresh.
Right.
And so in that you can't be watching what Jennifer got in her gatherings. You need
Don't
to be
do it.
yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah. So yeah, it's very real. And that's what we talk about. Y'all, we love community. We talk about this all the time. Just in building community, even though a person might not be comfortable speaking. Me and Jenny Marie get on here, right? And I be done been in the garden all day. But when I see Jenny Marie, I gotta pull myself together. I dare not get on here side by side with my good sis looking all elegant rose and be looking dusted and disgusted, okay?
So, well, I appreciate that, but I feel
absolutely. Nah, I'm gonna give you your roses, babe. I ain't never been a hey. We give Jenny Marie her roses in the Wednesday night book club. She stay ready. She on point. She looking good all the way down to the last hour. Okay, she is ready.
Oh wow!
And so that's what it's about. Iron sharpening iron. You get around people and you better yourself. You don't focus on their gatherings. Mm-hmm. You focus on your heart. And so when you change your heart, it changes your feeling, your appearance about everything. Mm-hmm. I damn not get on here again. And then we just talking about the personal relationship. The way you show up for me, I'm gonna show up for you. Anybody know, like, if we're gonna do it, let's show all the way up for each other. And so I'm thinking about her and me and myself. Mm-hmm. And it's no hate, it's all love, you know, mm-hmm. and we need that. And that's what the book was saying in the last chapter, that it's not about trying to balance all of your archetypes. Because we all came to the conclusion you need all four and they got to be balanced, which is a lot. But what we are talking about is building community and then having those archetypes balance each other out. Yeah. And that's more better. Nobody's exhausted trying to do a 360.
No.
Yeah.
No, but it does call attention to things within. Like, like I was just saying before, Nina, like that whole pleasure generation thing. I was like, you know, and I had to get out of the mindset of physical, right? Like, I think a lot of this book is really just what it says, awakening the master feminine. Like, it's there, it's been there. It's a matter of activating it, recognizing it. And, you know, like this type of acknowledgement of each other, like we are reflections of each other. So it's like, if I can see myself differently in a different light, I can see you in a different light. You know what I'm saying? I can see the world in a different light.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's what I'm most grateful about this. It's just like, you can easily take this and make this about relationships, but it's so much deeper than that.
And I was gonna give you your flowers on that too. When you hit about chapter 9, y'all excuse me. I'm over here, being Nina. Um, chapter 9, you had checked me because I was taking it and putting it in the direction of relationship. Like, and so when you say no, if you focus a little more about the inner reflection, it did make more sense. Because really it's all there. The pleasure generator is already there because I'm a pleasure me. And in that, anybody connected with me, we're gonna have that pleasure going on. So it's not a big deal. Some people I say who subscribe to a feminist movement might be offended. I've never been a feminist. I like to generate pleasure in my friendships and in my relationships. Like, we finna have some fun. And so it's just a no-brainer. And that's the thing. This book has taught me so much about what's already there. That is it. Like, yeah. So I love it. And I like the way you put that. Like, yeah. Like you say, it's already there. It's just shining a light. And you might have had some reflection through this book, of course, of your lower self, but at the end of the day, even in the lower self, it's a lesson. It's always a lesson present. And so there's no need to even beat up on yourself about it. It brought you to this point. So I love it. I love this book. I'm looking forward to the male version. We will have the link in the description box if you would like to go ahead and get your male version. But don't read without us.
I know, like you did with this one. I mean, I'm super grateful for it. It's so funny. Like my sister, like y'all still.
Y'all delayed. That's so yesterday's news. Okay. Yeah. Don't read without us. Get the book and just hold it. It's nothing like being in communication with each other, going through this and experiencing it with each other, and getting a different point of view. Because sometimes when you reading just by yourself, you do miss stuff. I know me personally. The playbacks is for us, really. While I'm working that garden this summer, I had this stuff playing in my earpiece and be like, dang, I didn't even hear that part. What did I miss?
Right.
And so make sure you study that part, and then we'll jump into the men's version. Tonight we are in chapter 13, which is Awakening the Master Feminine about men. Everything you wanted to know. So
okay.
This might get heavy. I'm gonna start and read as much as I can. We're gonna attempt to clear this thing out, but if not, we're gonna catch it up on Sunday. And so again, this is chapter 13 about men. It did skip chapter 12. So in this chapter, the male persona and boundaries, the house of man, monogamy and infidelity, single parent mothers, forgiving our fathers, female selection criteria, and the basis for hope. And so that was the 7 points that are going to be spoken on in this last chapter. So the male persona and boundaries. In this chapter, I hope to give women a sense of what men are thinking and what their motivations are. When possible, I have attempted to capture their voice and not present my opinion on them. I expect the typical female will find the worldview surprising. The selection about forgiving our fathers is of special note. Every woman should pay attention to this one. The original article was inspired by a powerful series of seminars done around this theme. These workshops were for adult men. Many males grew up without fathers, and some of them are dead set against the whole notion of forgiving their fathers. It was a serious sore spot for them. No doubt, stuff can get pretty intense out there on the front lines of life. All of the topics are challenging, challenge. What is it, Jennifer? Challenging. Am I saying it right?
Challenging, yes.
Oh, okay. It sounds funny. Challenging. Okay. So we are going to explore things from the male perspective. In their heart of hearts, men do desire to love and cherish women. At least most men had this desire at some time in their past. It gets twisted out of them sometimes. Men are just not allowed to express pure masculinity like they once did. Push this back. Okay. If they do, they get pounded by the forces in society that demand they conform. And in the face of this pounding, some men become bitter, cynical, selfish, hurtful, and disillusioned. I imagine that this man was once a boy, innocent and pure. What happened to him? The modern woman suffers from a general lack of natural knowledge about the male. To understand why the male is the way he is, she must grasp the makeup of his energy. Its attributes are his attributes. Its boundaries are his boundaries. He likes what the energy likes. Masculine energy is elemental. It is always the same energy, no matter what container or vessel you put it in. In a male termite, the energy can only express a part of its nature. In a male human, it can express a lot more of its nature. The energy did not change. You are just seeing more of its characteristics. The characteristics were always there, but the other vessels were not capable of that level of expression. There are four categories to male energy: the eagle, hunter, warrior, and healer. The male energy is a broad bandwidth of attributes. The four categories are a way to measure what he is expressing at this stage in his development. Each archetype of energy is equal to a small spectrum of the masculine bandwidth. And so some elements of masculinity are stuff you can measure and categorize. To the extent that you can accurately know what categories a man fits into, you can accurately predict how he will respond to in a given situation. But this is not the only dimension to the male energy. There are three basic stages to human evolution itself. This is the tree of life. There is the inferior man, Sahu, the superior man, Ab or Ab, and the divine man, Ba or Ba. At each stage of evolution, a male is a different species of being. The dynamic of masculine energy flows through him in a different way. The man with the healer archetype active will behave very different at the inferior stage, superior stage, and the divine stage of his development. It is easy to determine what level of evolution a man has reached. There are probably less than 1,000 men on the divine level in the world. Your chance of meeting one is slim. The superior man is mature. The inferior man is immature. We will make the distinctions very clear as the chapter progresses. In all its aspects, we hinder men from expressing their natural masculine energy. The modern male also has a certain mode of expressing his masculinity that is in harmony with his natural inner nature. But few men live this way. The modern machine world hampers the male in his masculine development. Many men today seem confused as to their role in a relationship. There's no blame. Society has changed so dramatically in the last few decades that the adult men of this generation cannot necessarily follow the generation of their fathers. Many men today never really knew their fathers that well. For most of his life, the modern man is made to suppress his masculine nature. Men do not hunt in the wild forest anymore. Young boys are not allowed to fight on the playground anymore. Everything is controlled. If a man disciplines a boy or holds him to a standard of conduct, the women around him want to put him in jail. Men have very little time to be men. Men can be men on the football field. Excuse me. On the football field, but most men only watch and do not have time to play. Even in the army, once a bastion of maleness, the role of the male has been reduced. For even in the act of killing, he is now removed from his adversary. He kills from a radar screen or from inside a tank. He does not come face to face with his opponent. A gun stands in the way. This reduces him. The military soldier has been replaced by intellectuals and technicians that destroy efficiently. War is now a matter of covert intelligence and high-tech weapons. There is no honor in it. There is no place for a real man in our society. Discipline, aggression, and strength of character should be a part of the male persona, even if he wears a suit to work. But we have stamped out this part of the man from most men. We have replaced it with gross competition. There is a difference. There is no place for the truly male man in court, in the office, in school, or at home. He must watch actors portray real men on TV while he sits on the couch and dreams. Because of this, so many young men abandon the desire to achieve honor and instead seek the raw power and crude advantages that give them the advantage in a competitive jungle. Western style societies have no empathy for the spirit of the male in the man today. And while we idealize the masculine persona in movies, we will not tolerate him in real life. Today, he is considered crude. He will find himself out of a job if he dares to stand up on principle or buck the system. Even worse, he may land in prison if he cannot conform. Too many boys grow up in homes filled with women. They are spoiled by middle-class parents, or the demands of a suburban life kill the male in a slow death of cutting grass and commuting. The modern machine world of the fire culture is devastating to the inner masculine nature of men. In the bedroom, males wear armor over their masculinity like the condom over their penis. Listen, this
Oh,
this a moment of
wow.
truth. I just never, and y'all don't judge me. Now, I'm gonna say that for private. What you was about to say?
Nothing. I don't even. Nothing. Go ahead.
He said in the bedroom, males wear armor over their masculinity, like the condom over their penis. Okay, and that's all I'm gonna say. All right, boundaries. Men live within an imaginary circle. The circle is their boundary. An important aspect of male energy is its relationship to boundaries. Men have a relationship to boundaries. There's no equivalent in females. Males have a linear left brain posture that attaches relevance or lack of relevance to an action based on its position in respect to their boundaries. Things are either inside the boundary, outside the boundary, or they remain hidden from him. Outside the boundary is bad. Inside the boundary is good. The male will act friendly and supportive to things inside the boundary. He is either indifferent or antagonistic to things outside the boundary. At puberty, each male begins to enforce his first primary boundary, his personal security space. This is a physical circle about 3 feet out from him. When other males enter this sacred space, he will push them out or relocate. From this point, the male begins to construct more boundaries. These boundaries are not physical, but mental. Most men are walking around supporting 7 or 8 of these imaginary circles in most men are walking around supporting 7 or 8 of these imaginary circles, their boundaries. The things to appreciate about boundaries are these. What happens to create these boundaries in the man's mind? What is the policy for allowing the boundary to be crossed? The stronger and more evolved a man is, the more rigid are his boundaries. Women by nature are boundary violators. But each man resists allowing his boundary to be violated if he can resist. In many cases, this is a matter of life or death. He will seek to kill you or hurt you for crossing his boundaries without permission. Crossing the boundary with permission is a non event. In other words, it is okay and there is no reaction from the male. Women are often guilty of boundary violation without knowing that they have done so. Boundaries are created that were not there before. Boundaries are almost always created by some agency outside of the man. Few individual men are evolved enough to create their own boundaries. All boundaries are created from a simple idea. The idea says that if we separate some element from its whole, a great good will come from this. Or the idea is that if we do not separate some element from its whole, something very bad will come from this. Common boundaries involve personal properties such as land or car. The mental image of this boundary or of the boundary is stated outside of the mind of the man, so that others can know the boundary and respect it. This is a deed or title. The deed to the property says this is my boundary, the imaginary line around this property map. Do not cross it without my permission. I love everything inside this line. I hate everything outside this line. Then there are tribal type boundaries. The idea that creates these boundaries is still very simple, but it's made by formal incorporation. This incorporation is the formal statement of the boundary so that all men inside the boundary know who they are, and so that all the men inside the boundary can recognize all the other people who remain outside the boundary. There is usually a ritual to go along with a tribal incorporation. Examples of the creation of these boundaries are the street gang, a sports team, a business firm which sells stock, a church, a franchise business, etc. To be considered a boundary, the protocols of the boundary need to be enforceable by law. In the case of a street gang, if the state will not honor its laws, it will make up its own and enforce them. And yeah, if I be sounding like I'm out of breath, it's because when I'm reading, I be trying to figure out why I forget to breathe, okay? So yeah. Women think they know men, but most really do not. In the case of the inferior man, the only things that are really important to him are the things inside his boundaries. Even food, sex, and money are not as important to him as the things inside of his boundaries. Money does not become critical to him until it is one of the activities of a corporation on extraordinary significance to him. A boy does not really care about grades in school until the school is incorporated and he adapts this boundary. In other words, unless the school becomes a tribal institution and admits him formally into his boundary. He will not be overly concerned with grades. If he is smart, he might make good grades, but it's not a priority. But the coach knows how to motivate a boy. The sports team is formal, tribal intuition for which he must try out and be accepted. It has a well defined boundary. In the games, each team has a territory and rules of engagement. There are uniforms to better establish the boundary, and he loves everyone on his team and hates everyone on other teams. Most women think that by virtue of being in his family or being married to a man, that you are within one of his boundaries. And they would be wrong. If a family today operated like a farm or business, then the male might consider it a boundary. But most families today are not formal tribes. They are just people living in the same space. There is no mental boundary for the child to observe. There is no formal process of being received into a family, such as a rites of passage. Therefore, when men grow up, they just move away. There is no psychic connection to a boundary. In the old days, some men looked at marriage as a boundary, but that is no longer the case. When the no fault divorce laws and the family court system went into law and the institution of marriage changed for males. Ooh, I'm checking my trade like, ooh. Okay, yeah. Now, I don't want to just zoom through this because it is long, but I want to say when it said women are boundary pushers, no lie. I had a toxic habit of just in every relationship trying to see how far I could go and where that would end up. No lie. And I brought that toxicity into this relationship. And so it gives off mixed messaging. And I was like, okay, so do you like me or not? Because you act like you like me. And I just want to see how much you love me. That's generally what it was. And it just comes from not having that male presence in my life at a young age. And then trying to gauge in adulthood, just never having it. How far can I go before you walk away like my dad did? And it was very toxic. I remember over and over again these things happening. And
So there was a lot that I mean, you just read a lot. Like,
right.
I mean, it wasn't it was like 2 pages, but that these two boundaries. Okay. So if we can back up to just how the boundaries are created, because when I listen to it and read it, it sounds very much like division.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because the idea says that if we separate some element from its whole, a great good will come from this. So, like, again, you are branching off and you are separating yourself. And by way of doing that, you inherit something that is good. That's one
Right.
boundary. And then boundary number 2 is if we don't separate that element from its whole, then something very bad will happen.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this encouragement of separation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like to see about how all of that is really like a learned behavior all the way down to like sports. Is that what I'm reading about? A boy doesn't really care about grades in school unless the school is incorporated and he adapts to a boundary.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then you have the whole corporation boundary. Food, sex, and money are not important as the things inside of that boundary. It's just like it only becomes critical once there's activities of a boundary initiated within a corporation
Right.
where you've broken off. So you have to establish that. I don't know. That I'm still. I'm gonna need to like process that.
It was real. It was a
Because
whole
what you said was very interesting about how women are boundary pushers.
lot. Right.
So is this to say that we are pushing them into this need to isolate and
To
divide
separate.
themselves from
Yeah.
their communities, their
Mhm.
families? Is that what?
I'm just thinking about all the single parent homes, all the single parent moms,
Yeah.
you know,
Yes.
and so I would,
Yeah. Mm.
yeah, each experience being an imprint just like us. And so that was deep. Okay. So when the no fault divorce laws and the family court system went into law, the institution of marriage changed for males. Understand that from a pure left brain male perspective, you cannot just dissolve a boundary by a petition to a lawyer. A contract is a contract. The boundary is sacred. A man will defend a rigid boundary to the death. With the onset of common divorce, the common boundary, the common boundary that did exist around marriage as an institution was dissolved. In fact, many men see the woman coming into their home as an intrusion on their boundary. That's true. For about half the men today, the female mate is just a person who has permission to cross his physical boundary, nothing more. She is not inside one of his mental boundaries unless she is a part of his gang, church, business, or team, etc. If women were inside male boundaries in the home, men would never hit or abuse them. That is against the code. Most men do not want to spend time with their wives to have fun. They want to spend time with the other men who are within their boundary. The male has real allegiance and integrity only to people who are within his boundary with him. Are you starting to understand? So the question the woman must ask is, which side of the circle does he see you on? The inside or the outside? Most females would be surprised to know the man brings things inside his boundaries to fill his needs, such as food, water, and sex. But only the members of his tribe have a special place in his heart. And a woman really does not wish to be within the boundary of a man, especially a rigid boundary, unless she is willing to play by the rules. For if a woman enters the boundary as a wife, if that becomes a sacred contract to the man, know that she can never break it. There is no divorce. Women do not respect boundaries, but men sure do. He will never divorce you under those conditions. He will try to kill you, hurt you bad, or kill himself. In the army, a man will often risk death rather than see the boundary of his unit violated. A man will risk death to defend his property. A member of a gang will kill to protect the gang. The great male societies of the past were simple male boundaries connected to a religious theme. Some of the well known societies included the Gestapo SS of the Nazi, the samurai warriors of Japan, the braves of the Lakota Sioux war clan, Lakota Sioux war clan, the Asante Man warriors of the Asante Empire, the Knights Templar of Europe, the brutal Mumu or Mama revolutionaries of the Congo, or the Order of the Jesuits of the 1600s. They all had a code of service based on incorporation within a strict boundary. Some of these orders of men had high ideals. Others had no sense of honor or shame and held nothing sacred except power. We may hate them or admire them, but we must recognize the value of their boundary system. The blueprint of these boundaries was sheer genius. In each case, a diverse group of men were transformed to be focused on the achievement of a singular purpose. Some of these male societies were famous, others were equally infamous or infamous. I am not glorifying some of the men who rose to power within these groups. Often their creation was more due to the times than the wisdom of the leaders. It is always easy to separate men and turn them against something. True greatness is the act of uniting men and turning them for something. This is a lot harder to do. Ouch. So, do you want me to continue? Let me see.
What do you want to do? I'm happy to pick
I'm
up. I
looking
was
at.
sitting here trying to get the picture of this chart on page 181, but I can't get it from
Oh,
just playing sideways.
well, I'm gonna keep going.
Okay.
While you get that, and just let me know when you're ready. Okay. The house of the man. What is masculinity? Masculinity is an energy. As with the feminine energy, we divide the masculine energy into four archetypes. The cornerstones of the house of the man. The male spirit contains the potential to tap into the masculine attributes of all male ancestors by blood or race going back 10,000 years. These male energies equip the male to carry out the roles required by his gender. This is what makes a male a man. You cannot train a boy to be a man. Education only is not enough. He has to do something to change his energy. He will not be able to be taught properly until this masculine energy is awakened in all four categories. Until masculine energy changes the programs in his subconscious mind, reproductive system, and auric field, you can teach him all you want to, but it will have little impact on his behavior. His father and other men in the culture naturally draw out his masculine energy. And so a man is born with instincts to be a man firmly embedded into his DNA. Every male has a complete set of these masculine traits, but for these dormant traits to play any role in his life, they must be awakened, cultivated, and brought online in his mind, body, and auric field. In most men today, only a few of these traits have been brought to the surface. In most men, their natural masculine attributes and power lies dormant, unused, untapped, because we fail to cultivate them. The four masculine archetypes: the way of the warrior, the way of warrior, the way of the hunter, the way of the eagle, and the way of the healer. And so the warrior, he's protective, rigid, paternal, and aggressive. The act and the art of engagement, the capacity to confront the obstructions in life based on a set of codes and boundaries. The eagle, logical, left brain thinking, deductive, intellectual, segregative, segregative, and critical. Seeing the steps to make a plan happen, having a vision beyond the present, a worldview. The healer, holistic, balanced, sociable, artistic, and romantic. The ability to restore a thing to a sound original condition. The hunter, predatory, 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 disciplined, persevering, and paternal. The ability to be accountable for the ability to be accountable for and responsible for the welfare of others. The way of the hunter, The ability to be accountable for and responsible for the welfare of others. The word husband is derived from a word for farmer, a steward of the land. The hunter is the steward of the family. He produces the things the family needs through agriculture or the capture of wild animals. In modern times, he gets a job. At the core, the yang masculine energy is always looking for something to do, while the woman is looking at how the world is and what it takes to get what she needs. The man, on the other hand, is always looking at how he can change the world. That is his dream. Hold on. The way of the eagle. Looking down the road to anticipate. The necessity of planning to enable forward progress. The structure of a natural plan. The need for vision and the expansion of the male worldview. The role of the male vision in ascension and development of mate and children. You weren't able to get it?
Yep, I got it. Give me a second.
Okay. I was just making sure I was going to snapshot it. The way of the healer, the restorer. Healing is about natural alignment. To heal is to return to one's natural and original state from a state of abnormality. To heal, a male must know what the original and natural state is. The way of the warrior. The energy of the warrior brings into the personality of the male an inclination for engagement. He is willing and even anxious to confront others. We see this energy in the white blood cell of the immune system. Engagement may involve physical confrontation or legal, economic, political, or verbal confrontation. Of course, when we think of a warrior, we think of a soldier, but a soldier fights because it is his job. A warrior fights because it is his nature to fight. His heart is the heart of a champion. He is looking for a cause. This energy of the warrior is not just the disposition for fighting, but more so an inclination to do battle for a just cause. He wants to correct something. His inner desire is to return the corrupt thing back to its original pure state. At the heart of his desire to engage is a sense of justice, and it is not his strength or drive that makes him a hero to us. It is his unbending sense of justice that makes our hearts go out to him. He is the theme of every cosmic book hero. He is the spirit of Archangel Michael, who, when called by God, challenges the evil Lucifer and throws down the one they said could not be overcome. He is the hero Hercules, the son of the deity Zeus. He is Heru, the son of the deity Aset, who avenges the death of his father and throws down the evil Set of ancient Kemet. The theme is universal and yet is very often misunderstood by women. The essence of the energy of the warrior is the capacity to defend others without concern for the harm that may come to oneself. This energy is not offensive in nature. It will only defend. It does not attack without cause. The warrior fights because it is necessary to restore the natural balance. The soldier fights because he is told to. He is paid to. And he is paid to. The warrior fights with honor. The soldier knows no honor. His motto is, all is fair in war. This is the saying of an animal, not a god. And so often today we portray men as warriors who are something less. The soldier, the cowboy, the pro athlete are held up as warriors when they are only imitations. There are few warriors today and a lot of imitations. It is necessary for the woman to recognize the difference. A man needs to possess his warrior energy if he is going to be a husband, father, or play any role in the community. It is absolutely critical, and women still want and need the warrior, but cannot find him because they have forgotten what he looks like. Their image of the warrior male is crafted by the movies, but in real life, he seldom looks or acts like that. Most often, he is not rich, exceptionally handsome, or famous. He looks ordinary and acts ordinary until he is faced with the crossroads. When the dodo hits the fan, he heads for the eye of the storm, while other men are running away. His shoulders his responsibilities. He shoulders his responsibilities while other men abandon theirs. He stands up for the underdog. He takes on the unpopular causes in society because they matter to people. Often today, he loses his fights. And this is what the female does not understand. In the movies, the hero always wins. But most of the true warriors today are losers. Their causes did not prevail. If they had won, our world would be better. And because they are not celebrated, she does not recognize him. We think the hero is always going to be 6'4" tall, handsome, and action oriented. But the warrior may be short, ugly, and poorly dressed and shy. He is a warrior by his heart and energy. Standing up straight is the ideal of masculine energy. It is not about posture. It means to stand firm about an ideal, to keep one's word in the face of adverse situations, to nonetheless remain in male integrity. It is this energy of the warrior that makes a male stand up straight. But the modern woman does not place a high value on the warrior energy. She is more impressed by the money of the hunter or the charm of the healer. So yeah, what y'all see on the screen is what we were just reading about. Just the archetypes of the male. The master masculine faculty. Within the DNA and spirit of each man resides the full complement of the attributes of masculinity. This bank or store of attributes contains all male traits that any man in his bloodline has ever had going back 10,000 years. Any man can bring forth any male trait that any of his ancestors possessed since the dawn of time. But these traits are only dormant possibilities. He is not born with the actual use of any of these traits. At birth, a male child is not much different from a female child. For any one of these male traits or attributes to play any role in his life, they must first be awakened, cultivated, and brought online in his mind, body, and auric field. Each male human contains within himself an internal faculty for becoming a man. The internal mechanism that brings his particular bank of masculine attributes into manifestation in his person we call the master masculine faculty. His master masculine faculty is the intelligence within a man's subliminal program that chooses from this vast bank of potential male attributes, selects some, and takes these attributes out of their dormant state in the DNA storehouse and activates them. The master masculine faculty, takes a sleeping trait in his DNA and brings it online. The master masculine faculty first springs into action when the boy enters the stage we call puberty. In fact, the onset of the master masculine faculty is what brings on puberty. But the master masculine faculty of each man encounters many obstructions as it tries to develop him into the highest and most natural version of a male that it can. Year after year, it recedes further into the background as he replaces natural traits and natural lifestyles with artificial replacements. And in most men today, before they reach the age of 25, the master masculine faculty shuts down prematurely. It goes into remission and becomes inert and inactive. In most men today, only a few of these traits have been brought to the surface. In most men, their natural masculine attributes and power lies dormant, unused, untapped, because we fail to cultivate them. Out of the four archetypes of the masculine energy, most males enter adulthood with the use of only one archetype out of four. But the typical male does not comprehend this. He believes this is just an aspect of his personality. But having only limited use of his male energy, he takes on a limited, narrow, and dysfunctional worldview. His outlook on relationships is impaired in accordance with the archetype that is dominant in his spirit. As a young male, he attempts to relate to females based on whatever archetype he is. If he is the eagle type, he tries to be logical, looking ahead, scheming, etc. If the healer type, he uses romance charm and wants to remake her, etc. By definition, he is not able to conduct a successful relationship. He is not capable of this as a young man. Some of them realize their shortcoming and struggle to evolve in a short time. Others stay in the same dysfunctional state for years. Each man is born with the potential to be a great father, a great provider, a super warrior, and a super stud in bed. To become the highest and best version of a male possible, he must bring forward all his potential. But most men today do not. In the male master masculine faculty, in the master masculine faculty awakens at puberty and brings on one or two attribute sets online. And even if the man makes the most of the archetype he has, it is not enough. Such a man can be a champion in one arena and still fail at life. This is the situation most men find themselves in. He is a good warrior, but a poor healer. He is a good hunter, but a poor eagle. The man does his best to impress women and find a mate. Therefore, he wears a mask. The mask is there to play up his good side, and more importantly, the mask serves to hide his imperfections due to the missing archetypes, and men are becoming more yin, and they do not know why. For the female seeking a relationship and family, this presents some pretty critical challenges. Each female starts her adult life with a built-in attraction to one of the four male archetypes. It is based on her father and her womb imprint. In other words, each female is more attracted to the warrior type, eagle type, hunter type, or healer type based on what her father was and or which archetype the men who first imprinted her were. Ooh, that's just so deep. But she is never satisfied with him because what she really needs is a fully developed man with all four archetypes active in his energy field. Also, most women bring a lot of fear or anger into their sexual life that further complicates their ability to see men clearly. There is no blame in this. Men are even more in the dark. In our society, men and women are under many illusions and false beliefs from the influence of money, power, and religion. We struggle under the burden of the scarcity model. It is cause and effect. In the incomplete development stage that most men are in, they are not capable of providing the female with the relationship experience she so desires. Now, for the most part, men want to love women and women want to love men. How do we stop getting in the way of that? How do we stop?
Wow. This is a lot.
You speechless. It said that it's based on who her father was and who imprinted that wound.
Facts. Mm-hmm.
And then it goes on to say, but she is never satisfied with him.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Because I guess, yeah, there's the need for a fully developed man with all four archetypes active.
Right.
Hmm. Wow. Okay. You want me to pick up
Pick it
on
up, pick it up.
infidelity and monogamy? All right. Okay. Infidelity and monogamy. The male view of sustainable relationships. There is currently no working system of monogamy in the West. What we have in our society is the facade of monogamy, not the real thing. Most people who think they are in monogamous relationships are, in fact, sharing their mate. Infidelity is common with both males and females committing the offense. Over the long term of a relationship, both men and women are more likely to be guilty of infidelity than to remain true to their partners. There is the added dynamic of bisexuality today. Not only do women cheat with men, but they cheat with other females. Not only do men cheat on their mate with other women, but they cheat with other males as well. In this environment, a person should consider in this environment, a person should consider then their mate has indeed cheated on them unless they have investigated and obtained evidence to the contrary. For the most part, women seem to embrace the concept of monogamy as an imperative. Without a contract of monogamy, women feel it is impossible for them to fully invest in a relationship or obtain the full measure of what life with a man has to offer. Most females maintain the position that it must be monogamy or no relationship at all. There is no training ground. There is no in between. Men are forced to choose. If they fall in love with a woman, they must concede to a long-term relationship or hit the bricks. Women force men into monogamous relationships whether they are ready or not. And the fact of the matter is, the majority of young adult men are nowhere near ready for a long-term relationship. Men crave stimulation. The yang male is always looking out, seeking new interaction and adventure. He thrives off of arousal and change. Males crave stimulation and are very intolerant of things which remain static. The male worldview on monogamy is negative. He sees the long-term relationship as a trap, a prison. This is because it often becomes a prison for his spirit when he is dealing with the underdeveloped female. Males like risk. Females are naturally risk adverse, especially when they have children. Women want security. Men seek just the opposite. Males seek to be challenged and like to chase stuff. At their core, they are predators. They do not stop being a predator until they enter the superior man stage we talked about. In the same way, a lion, wolf, dog, or hawk is a predator. The male is a predator. He is a wild thing from his teen years into early adulthood, and our attempts to tame and domesticate him are only partly successful. Male patterns of infidelity start in childhood. He enters puberty with the disposition toward infidelity because he is copying the model he sees in outer society and his own family. If as a boy his mother divorced his father, and then this sets the stage for his subliminal programs in support of infidelity. You may tell a child it is bad to cheat on your mate, but they follow the models they see out in the neighborhood. In the male, the pattern of infidelity may start as early as the age of 2. Later, as a teen, his master masculine faculty awakens, and the juvenile boy is imprinted as a male. When his master masculine faculty awakens, it brings on puberty. It looks out to identify the alpha females in his vicinity. These are his peers or older. These are usually the most attractive females with the most fully developed yin, female energy. The boy then seeks to become an alpha male to the dominant females. His imprint is determined by the rejection or acceptance of the alpha females. This imprint is further formed by the energy signature of the first female he makes love to. So his iconic female is a composite of the dominant diva of his peer group and his first sexual conquest. Often the woman is the hunter and he is the prey. Refer to the book Awakening the Master Masculine to read the full discussion of the male imprinting process. A pattern of infidelity may be inserted into his subconscious during this period. Yeah, wow. Okay, the most common pattern of infidelity. Most males never reach the point where monogamy is the active program. In males who attempt monogamy, it is forced over an underlying pattern of infidelity programmed into the template during puberty. After a period of resistance, the adult male succumbs to the attractive force of the female and enters into a long term relationship. At the point where the male enters a relationship, he is not fully mature. His masculine energy is still in a developmental stage. In these situations, the female in question has some significant Amazon attributes. In other words, her yang energy is highly cultivated, while her yin energy is less developed. In the early phase of the relationship, her yang take charge posture may be a plus, but she wants to wear the pants in the household. She insists on playing the role normally intended for the male. She will, of course, run into increasing conflict with the male in this regard. As his masculine energy matures, he becomes increasingly less tolerant of other male energy in the household. It is like having 2 men in the house. In the sexual sense, her excess yang energy becomes increasingly less attractive. One day, the male finds that he feels an irresistible attraction to another woman. It is not that she is more attractive than his mate, but her energy magnetizes him. She is a yin, feminine female. He may resist her, but in a few weeks or months, he meets another. On the other side, he is no longer fully aroused by the mate. There may be some residual attraction there, but not much. He feels like he has been going to bed with a male in a woman's body. And then one day he gets the opportunity to be with a woman who is more yin than his mate. He goes for it. It happens fast and without warning. The next thing he realizes, he's sneaking around with a yin female. He finds these episodes very compelling and hard to resist. He's not thinking straight. And then, of course, he's caught. Of course, things go downhill from there. He will get caught sooner or later, and the discovery of his infidelity will injure his mate and shatter his image of himself. He will begin to see himself more clearly and understand better that he is immature. So, is this to say that once he gets caught, he'll begin to see himself more clearly? Mm.
He ain't got no choice. He don't got caught.
But what about the habitual cheaters? Like, what about them?
I think the case with that is the forgiving female. Well, I can't even say that because when you the habitual cheaters, sometimes they're allowed to go from female to female. But yeah, I think it's what females allow. I remember just being working in the club makes you kind of coarse when it comes to the cheating because you see so much cheating. And so in that you do form a notion that all men cheat, that they somehow lead with their opinions. And I'm probably gonna get into this in the book about men, but it's just a cycle, all of it. It's like this big loop of dysfunction.
Mm.
What do you think?
I mean, I think that uh, I wonder what distinguishes that male that decides to see himself more clearly and the one who decides to be in denial about his level of immaturity. What is the deciding factor? Um, I don't
Yeah, and
know.
I'm pretty sure it's affected by the first three women who imprinted him, and then also whether or not his dad was around or his mom in the male version, all that. And so
You know what I found to be interesting about men, the boys and the imprints, how their imprint is determined by the rejection or acceptance of the alpha females. I found that to be very interesting because that could happen just at a young age. I mean, I just think about, I was just telling you how my son lives to find like the oldest little girl, and I was just questioning, like, why does he do that? Why is he so? It's I don't know.
he gonna he gonna aggravate her to the fifth power.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I just wonder how what's the conclusion, but when he said that they'll marry you and you still not be a part of the team.
I know.
That was the
Being
thing.
on the outside of the boundary. Yeah, that made a lot of sense.
Right.
Like, wow.
Yeah.
That
Makes a
made a
whole
lot
lot
of
of
sense.
sense.
Like,
Cause
what side are you on? And I mean, that made it very black and white for me. Like, it's a clear, knowing that you have a clear understanding where you stand in those relationships.
yeah. I mean we see it playing out in the world.
Yeah.
The nature boy thing, it's like looking at him, he has all these wives, but they clearly not on the team. The way he conducts himself
Mm,
with them
mm,
and how he forces them to conduct themselves is crazy.
mm. Okay, let me. Where did I leave off? Most males. Did I? So am I at the most common pattern of infidelity? No, infidelity pattern number 2. The second most common pattern of male infidelity involves money. Most men cannot indulge themselves in infidelity as they desire to because the women they desire are not available to them. To take this chance, a man is looking for a woman who is somewhat attractive, and she needs to be more yin and feminine than the first woman. But the reality is that most attractive women have options, and there are not a lot of feminine yin women out there anymore. So money becomes a factor. The men with the money have the most options. The pattern involves a married man who begins an affair with a single, never married female who has at least one child. The female got pregnant early, probably during her teen years, and as a consequence, has financial issues. The father of her baby is not supporting her. Often, the young woman is out on her own or living with her mother in a strained relationship. After the young single mother endures 3 or 4 years of this, she is looking for financial relief. The woman is looking for a male sponsor. The married man now approaches her and finds she is more receptive than he might have supposed. Maybe in a normal situation, she might have been out of his league, but due to his financial standing, she gives him some of her time. If she likes him and he is generous with her, she decides to become his silent mistress. He helped her with money issues and a shoulder to lean on, and she provides him with the sexual favors he so desires. Often these women prefer married men because they are not yet ready to marry, and they choose men who might not otherwise be eligible because it gives the woman more leverage. If the man is equal to the woman in attraction, she does not have much leverage. Also, once the affair is over, it is easier for her to leave. The primary motivation for the male in this situation is to have intimate access to an exciting, attractive woman that normally might not give him the time of day. This is a dream come true. Not only is she perhaps more attractive than his wife, but more importantly, she is attentive to his needs. His contributions to her count, his contributions to her count, and she shows appreciation for him. I don't get that, but that's what it says. His contributions to her count, and she shows appreciation for him. He feels her genuine appreciation. This probably improves his sexual performance in bed immensely. Damn. You hear that all the time. All the time. Okay, third common pattern of infidelity. The third common pattern of infidelity involves an older man and a younger woman. The male is 35 years plus. The female is at least 10 years younger than him. Most men make mistakes and regret many of the decisions made in the early part of their adult life. They reach a place in their life that is unexpected. It may not be bad or good, just not where they thought they would be. The woman they are with is on one course, and the man is on the same course. And then one of them changes course and the other partner does not. They start to grow apart, but because of kids or other reasons, he does not seek to end the primary relationship, but this man yearns to redo his life. In the scenario, into the scenario comes a younger woman. She may not be more attractive than his wife. In fact, he's probably looking for a copy of his wife, but younger. The younger woman may possess the positive attributes he likes in his wife, but lacks the negative attributes he associated with his shortcomings. He pursues the younger woman as a metaphor for attempting to redirect a course in his life. The younger woman is receptive to the new concept he has of himself. His wife is not. He wants to reshape and remake himself. His wife will not or cannot divorce herself from his past mistakes and the image of that. He cannot change or revise himself in her eyes until he undoes the mistakes of his past and shows he is capable of better behavior. And so the man withdraws emotionally. He just goes through the motions of it. Often the wife does not even notice. So fixed is she on her own course. And he begins a hot, passionate affair with the younger woman. Of course, there are numerous patterns of infidelity. Whenever the relationship reaches the crossroads, you must be you must beware. If the woman becomes pregnant, there is an added risk of infidelity. The possibility of a child does funny things to the mind of a male. He wonders if he can shoulder the great responsibility of a family. He believes these are his last few months of freedom. There is pressure on him. He has established a pattern of regular sex. Now his mate is no longer able to make love to him. The pressure builds, and he may seek a release outside the marriage. It is not really a sexual thing, but a safety valve. The same holds for death in the family. There's a loss, there's grief. The burden of sadness weighs heavy on him. It is a marker that shows life is not forever. He looks around to see where he is on the journey of life, and he may seek to have an affair at this time. The male spirit is strong in some ways and weak in others. Men fear death. They can face death easy in battle or in a fight. A man would die gladly to protect his wife or children, but he fears the slow loss of life. He fears losing his chance to live life fully. These are the signs that a woman should beware of, that he is growing older and his dreams seem to be slipping away. At these times, he can grow closer to his mate or he can seek consolation in the arms of another woman. Okay. Let me just keep reading.
What you finna say?
I So in the third pattern of infidelity, right? The woman is at least 10 years younger than him, right? And he pursues an even younger woman than that.
Right.
I feel okay. Yeah. I felt like I don't know about the infidelity piece. I think in my mind I may have, but at one point during my marriage, we had a fairly significant age gap,
Mm-hmm.
and there was that time where the courses of our lives changed.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely remember feeling like he has this whole other course that he's, just loving and exploring. We were once on the same path. Now we're not. I have
Mm-hmm.
no desire to take that path,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to be supportive. I don't know how to show up. And I start seeing younger, these young, free girls. And it's just like, wow, I'm in my mind, it's like they're babies because I'm young. I'm
Mm-hmm.
younger than you. I definitely know what that's like.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what it boils down to. I call it the newer model syndrome. And so you think you're going to be getting something better by going younger, but in actuality, by the time you snap up out of it, you have nothing in common with them because they are babies.
Mm.
And women do it too. We see these women around her being cougars and, you know, what they call it, a sugar mama.
Sugar mamas. That's a trip. That's a trip to me. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out though. Okay, so we right. You sad, you heavy, so you cheating. I'm okay, where are we going with this? I get it, not want just letting life pass you by, but okay, let me finish.
Right.
If
What they
you
call it, men when they have a midlife
a
crisis.
midlife crisis. I feel like that is very real.
Yeah.
Um, okay. If you have had an affair and he discovered it, this is another issue. Men do not handle this very well at all. The thought of another male between his woman's silky thighs, pleasing her, pressing into her, can torment a man. This is especially so if he thinks his woman really enjoyed it. The visual of another man in hot embrace with his woman will play over and over again in his mind. If this happens, the couple should get immediate therapy and counseling. Otherwise, he may become a powder keg waiting to explode. And if he seeks to have a revenge affair, it will probably be with one of your close friends. Well, damn.
Too much.
Oh, what?
Listen, I know a couple right now. This is exactly how it played out. Oh, she was cheating and he slept with one of her closest best friends. Not just that, I know a lot of women that believe in confessing their infidelities. That's not my belief. I don't know where y'all get that from, but nah, you gonna have to take that one to the grave, sis, because they don't look at the same. I know a couple, a female who confessed, her husband brings it up on the regular. Okay, 20 years later, he's
Mm,
still bringing it up. Okay, so that's not the move.
don't do it.
So they don't function the way that we do.
Okay. Um, Monogamy. One second.
So you that took the cake.
Oh my goodness. This was a lot. I don't think I was expecting all of this. Okay, monogamy is not the province of the spiritually immature. A man should have well developed masculine energies in place before they can really work that monogamy thing for real. Of course, if you just want to pretend, then go on. But you need to really have your ducks in a row before you can vow to love the same person for the entire rest of your life. Before you jump up and vow to love someone forever, you need to make the investment so that you can back that vow up. What makes you think what makes you think that you are not going to make any of the major personal mistakes that terminate relationships? For a man to be able to live up to his vows, he must have a level of spiritual maturity. His full masculine energy needs to be online. A lot of men are writing those monogamy checks, and a bunch of those checks are going to bounce. It does not matter if he went to college or not. It does not matter what church he belongs to. It does not matter what his corporate title is. He cannot back up such a vow unless his masculine energy is there. Right. So that's all. They got all these shows now where these women are trying to force their men's hand in marriage, marry me now, all of this type of stuff. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. Men have generally lost the respect for the feelings of women, and men have pulled back emotionally from relationships, dating, and marriage. This is especially true of young men. Many young men would prefer to play video games on a date with a young girl than to try and work through complex personality issues. The female side of the relationship dynamic has become a complex minefield. Typically, the modern young male is not even remotely interested in going there. The tactic and motive of today's young man is to look for the lowest hanging fruit to pick. He is not trying to climb any trees. If the woman presents any serious psychological challenge, Their most likely response is just to move on to the next case. If she is very feminine and supportive, they may just overlook any issues and try to just push ahead. The maturity level of males is dropping rapidly every decade. As this happens, they must pull back, for they do not have the traits and skills to deal. So, a young female today looking for a real old fashioned relationship is in for a shock. Sorry, Daffy Dorothy, you came to the wrong time period. In the European and Asian communities, there are still pockets in society clinging to the old values. Some religious institutions and isolated communities cling to the old ways. But in the Native American, African American, and mixed race communities, the pockets are small or non existent. Young African American females have almost no market for monogamous relationships. If they force marriage, and many do, there is an 80 to 90% certainty of divorce in 7 years. And while they are married, they're almost certain to be sharing their man, whether they know this or not. Monogamy may appeal to women because it implies a guarantee. It implies stability, and children need stability. But I think before we get back to a time when we will see men really stand up and be men, and the institution of marriage becomes honorable again, both men and women will have to give up some of these absolute demands they cling to so violently. What is the reason and purpose for a woman to enter into a relationship? What is the underlying motivation for monogamy? Is monogamy about a sustainable relationship? Or is monogamy really about personal economic advantage? In my opinion, it is more important that the relationship have the quality of being sustainable than that it just meet a requirement of being monogamous. I do not believe that all sustainable relationships absolutely must be a certain be a situation of monogamy. When females force the construct of monogamy on the relationship, often it has the net effect of hurting, destroying trust, and making new wounds. The males are not ready, and society seems unwilling to invest funds in programs that will mature men, nor are women currently funding these types of ventures. It seems most men and women these days choose personal economic advantage over sustainability any day. Sustainability means your relationship is still going strong 20 years from now. Personal economic advantage means that you are doing better than your neighbors and friends at any specific time. There is a big difference. It seems that most women who are heavily invested in monogamy are invested out of a quest for personal advantage and not for the sake of sustainability. Why does a wealthy woman buy a Lexus instead of a Toyota Avalon? They're almost the same car. They're made by the same company. They're often built on the same assembly lines, except the Lexus is a luxury brand and costs up to $20,000 more. Both cars give you an excellent ride. The reason that woman will spend the $20,000 extra is because she is seeking a personal advantage, not prosperity. Purchase of the more expensive car reduces her net worth. It is the brand she's paying for, the luxury brand. It is because other people cannot own one easily. There's a value attached to that. People spend $80,000 on a car mainly because other people cannot. The illusion is it sets you apart, gives you a special quality. It is personal economic advantage. In relationships, men feel cheated when their woman has an affair because their personal advantage has been taken away. The man feels violated in the innermost part of himself because his woman was penetrated by another man. She had to take him inside her. It is a deep violation. The illusion was that she set him apart from other men. He thought he held some special quality in her eyes. He looked for his validation inside her womb. It was an illusion. Personal advantage means that you are doing better than your neighbors and friends. If you fall behind for even one day, it is a disaster. If all of your neighbors and friends are millionaires, then you have not achieved personal advantage until you are a multimillionaire. You see, if you live in West Pohick Junction and everybody in West Pohick Junction got gravel driveways, well, you done did something when you go get your driveway paved with asphalt. You, a big man, and you got personal economic advantage. You come home and your wife got on a French maid outfit, hair up in a bun, and she's smiling like the freaky about to happen. It is because you guys got personal advantage over those hick neighbors. But if you live in West Malibu and your neighbors got those long curving driveways paved with the imported granite inserts from Europe in fancy designs, they look too nice to drive a car on. You got your nice paved driveway in the best asphalt money can buy, but guess what? Next to your neighbors, your driveway looks plain and cheap. It is the same driveway. Your car rolls on it nice, but you're not satisfied. Why? Because they got the personal economic advantage over you. Therefore, many women are heavily invested in monogamy as a means to personal economic advantage. Female selection criteria for mates. As we have stated before, there are three events that shape the image of what a female desires in a male. One, she wants a man like her father if her relationship with dad was good. If the relationship with dad was bad, she wants a man who is what her father was not. Number two, she is imprinted by the first two or three men she has sex with. Based on his energy, she desires a man who is similar. Her master feminine faculty awakens and brings on puberty. During the early stages of puberty, she forms an image of the alpha male based on the men in her environment who make a positive impression on her. In all three instances above, there's a good chance that the male role models involved are negative in character. Thus, the icon she shapes of an ideal male is one who has a negative character. If she were, in fact, to enter into a relationship with this ideal mate, the experience that would result would be a negative one for her. In other words, females are looking for a mate who is essentially dysfunctional. Select versus non-select. Females who are sexually viable are constantly grading and evaluating males as to their sexual worthiness. It does not matter if they are 13 or 60, married or single, a stripper or a nun. There are exceptionally few exceptions. It is common for young adult females to compare their abilities to sum a man up quickly and accurately. They call this female radar, and women are very good at it. Most women decide in the first 5 minutes whether a man is to be placed in the select or non select category. It is then based on this initial determination that a male is included into a woman's sphere of activity or he is excluded from contact with her. Some women will maintain minimal communication with a few men from their non select category for either friendship purposes or to support some special interests they may have. But mates are chosen exclusively from the select category. And most women even restrict their male platonic friends to men from their select category. As a consequence of this practice, women typically have a circle of male friends who represent an exceptionally small bandwidth on the spectrum of possible males out there. Women tend to place men in one of four basic categories, when it comes to dating. Two of these categories are deemed select. Deemed select categories, and these men are sought after and given special treatment in relationships. The two other categories are the men who do not make the first cut. These are the non select men. They are not sought after. The non select group represents 2/3 to 3/5 of the total male population. It is a larger group than the select group. Refer to the chart that follows. Let's see. I don't know if we can make that any bigger. No. Oh.
No,
Okay.
I tried.
Okay. The model in the table is peer driven. It does not seem to be devised to achieve any objective other than simply a means to obtain desires. Many women I interviewed told me that they decide in the first 5 minutes whether a man is to be placed in the select or non select category. If they decide you are select, you still have to pursue them, but it is a formality only. She has already decided that you can get some. It is mainly necessary not to do anything stupid or rash. The man makes the first move, and the woman will guide the rest of the process from there on out. Players will tell you chasing after a woman who has not already chosen you is a waste of time. Real men do not bother. My advice to men is never to chase after some woman who is not actively seeking to seduce you. Single females who are not seeking to seduce a man are either dysfunctional or still in their little girl phase. You do not want to get caught up with that at all. The worst thing that can happen is that the man will obtain her. He will indeed be sorry he did. When a woman is healthy, mature, and feminine, she is always in an auto seduction mode. She is attractive and alluring by definition. She does not have to try or put any effort into it. She is born as a man magnet. To be anything else is a sign of unnatural development. When it comes to mate selection, 9 times out of 10, it is the females who choose. Most playboys, players, pimps, and skirt chasers will tell you straight up that chasing after a woman who has not chosen you is a fruitless exercise. Most women decide in the first 5 minutes whether a man is to be placed in the select or non select category. And if they decide you are non select, no amount of persistence or charm or gifts will sway her. The 4 categories are named allegorically. Number 1, Mr. Goodbars, Mr. Goodbar. Number 2, the masked men. Number 3, the nice guys. And number 4, the gamesmen. Mr. Goodbar is exciting, charming, appealing. He satisfies a desire for passion and romance. Like rich chocolate, she wants to indulge as much as possible. But these men tend to be self centered. Women serve at their pleasure. They relate to women on their terms. The masked men are successful and handsome. He satisfies a desire for money and power. He has become that thing that women want on the surface by wearing a mask, but he is non-committal, and these men bear emotional scars beneath the mask. The nice guy, non-select. So the nice guy is a non-select male. Mr. Goodbar and the masked men are the 2 select categories. So nice guy, bland, reliable, not exciting. Nice guys are too yin. They may have good intentions, but nice guys always lose out. She welcomes platonic relations with him, but flatly rejects his romantic advances. Nice guys get no panties. Then there's the gamesman, which is also non select, persistent, phony, a facade of macho. He lacks substance. He wants to get his by any means necessary. Today, the selection criteria have shifted away from character issues and compatibility to material issues. Men are judged today based strictly on what is on the surface. The criteria include looks, money, power, sex, religious affiliation, peer appraisal, etc. Being judged as part of the select group does not guarantee the women will choose you, but being classed into the non select group guarantees that they will not. This is how the westernized woman gives away good men. She rejects men who have not reached a level of surface appeal or material achievement. Men of honor, dignity, good intentions, and high moral value, and etc., are kicked aside if they do not meet the strict criteria. The young woman wants men to already be there instead of choosing the most compatible males and helping them get there. If the army used her model and refused to accept soldiers who were not already trained, few men would make the armed forces. Her selection criteria are based on a scarcity model, and this scarcity model is where all of the problems start. Perhaps women as a group recognize that male adults are lacking in some of the development needed to become a good mate. But there does not appear to be any overall understanding of what it would take to get males to finish their development, nor does there seem to be an appreciation for what that would really entail. Often today, men from the non select group are just pushed aside. They are trampled over in the rush to get to the men of the elite aristocracy. When women settle even for a good man or a nice guy, they often treat him in an inferior way. He does not get her best effort. The nice guys do not get the midnight booty calls. His wife does not shop at Victoria's Secret, and he will never come home to find that his mate has run his bath, put flower petals on the bed, and is waiting for him with that see-through lace bodice and G-string thing on. She is not broadcasting the elegant rose. The male response to this is a gangster mentality. Men will do just about anything to be in the select category. This includes selling drugs, buying a big car, getting the best job, and hanging out only with other select men. In the second place, she forms a long-lasting attachment to men who resemble the first boys she had sex with. The womb of the teen female is imprinted by the first few men who enter her vagina. If you look at the first 2 or 3 men that she has sex with and sum up a composite of their traits, you will see the type of man she has attracted all her life. If these first sexual episodes were less than wholesome, her selection criteria will be severely flawed. She will have a strange attraction to and a sexual appetite for males who are dysfunctional and impaired. The result is that men are very confused about what their role in a relationship is. To attract a woman, you have to project this image of being a bad boy. But once in a relationship, the woman becomes upset if you act like a bad boy. Bad boys are just that, bad. They have many girlfriends and tell lies when it suits them. But what gets them into the woman's bedroom will not keep them into a relationship or marriage. She will thus attract to herself men who will not satisfy her and, in fact, may harm her. It explains why she has blocked part of her feminine energy and continues to engage in behavior that has shown historically to be unproductive for her. Now, if you want to know why some women enjoy being tied up by men and others always want to save a man who needs help, and some women want a rich man, and still others only get turned on by the dominant type, you need only look back at their father and the first men they had sex with and evaluate what was going on in her life at that time. You will have the answer to your question, and you will have a preview as to why her feminine energy is blocked to the extent that it is. For the Master Feminine faculty simply follows the recipe or program. It has to work with what is there. Nina, you want me to keep reading? You stop me if you want if you want to.
Okay.
You want to start back at forgiving our fathers on the next page. Okay. Nature is based on a model of abundance. There are enough people that everyone can have an attractive, healthy, loving mate. Scarcity is created by man due to the greed of a few and the ignorance of the many. It is war, political oppression, racial oppression, and governments that create scarcity. It does not exist naturally. You have to make it. The fashion industry thrives off vanity, low self esteem, and romance. The car industry designs cars to break down and burn a lot of fuel. It sells parts and promotes the oil business. They spend millions to change the style of cars every year so that you will spend billions because your 2-year-old car is obsolete. The planned lifespan of a personal computer series, software, video device, DVD, or electronic entertainment device is no more than 2 years. Business people actually sit down in a room and try to figure out how to make their products obsolete in the desired time span. Women promote the scarcity model by creating a class of men who are non-select. The proper action is to identify a class of men who are underdeveloped. Work on ways to encourage these men to finish their development. Do this in a way that validates the male instead of destroying his self-esteem. Today, many older women feel lost. They feel out of place and disconnected. They have lived the life that society has crafted for them. They dressed the way they were supposed to, acted the way they thought was proper, tried to do the right thing, and sought with great effort to share love with the men in their lives. But through all of it, they were not completely present. It was not the real them. They lived for their parents, their children, their husband, their job, or their church. Because they agreed to support the scarcity model, there was no room in their life for themselves. This is the counterfeit life, lived by the counterfeit persona of people who are not fully present. The main portion of their lives was lived to support the elite, not themselves. And just as women currently have issues with their feminine energy, so do modern men have issues with their masculine energy. Some men play relationship games as part of their strategy to get what they want. They see the emotional baggage many women carry more than they see the potential that is there. And in the quest to complete their strategy, there is often a good deal of lies told, masks worn, and promises broken. Infidelity, abuse, being alone, experiencing the rejection and frustration of dating, and not having sex on a regular basis are outcomes most people wish to avoid. A monogamous relationship with a faithful mate is seen as a solution. The natural outcome when women seek natural prosperity, personal evolution, men and women, and natural pleasure is that they achieve sustainable relationships. For as we have said, these are the common denominators that men want. This is the natural sexual model of a relationship, and it tends to be sustainable. Prosperity, personal evolution, and pleasure all add value to the relationship. The outcome when women seek personal economic advantage, promises based on moral codes and regulations, and strategies based on avoiding the risk of pain is to remain alone through divorce, rejection, or infidelity. In regard to men, know that males are becoming more yin. White men are becoming more feminine, but at a slow rate. Black men, Asian men, and Native American men are also becoming more feminine and yin, and they are doing so at a faster rate. Women must quickly gain an understanding of why and learn how to combat and counter this.
Mm. It was a lot. Okay, forgiving our fathers, father-son relationship. The foundation upon which a man's manhood is built is the proper relationship with his own father. Today, men suffer because there is no generational continuity from grandfather to father to son. Even if the father was present but did not mentor his son properly, there is a fault. The male experiences this break in continuity as an emotional trauma. Once the adult man clears up the issues with his own father, then he can cultivate the attributes that make him an above average father to his son or daughter. When you are a child, your parents are all you have. When one of them dies or leaves you, it is a trauma. Perhaps the worst trauma of traumas, because as a child you do not understand. Many men grow up without a father present on a daily basis. His absence adds a special challenge when they attempt to make the transition from boyhood to manhood. As adults, these men often form a male to female relationship strategy that is based on an imbalanced model. They observe their mother interact with men and come to certain conclusions as a result, but it is not the same as if the man was their father. There is a certain part of the communication between man and woman that is missing for them. Their opinion of themselves is based in part on their opinion of the father and in general of all men. This is shaped by the opinion of the mother and sisters toward men in general. And if the father was absent, it makes a negative statement about men on its face. If the mother remarried, the stepfather may have helped the situation, but even so, it will not blunt the anger these men feel at being abandoned. I have attended or been the speaker at many workshops and retreats. At the all male sessions, it is usually a challenge just to keep the men's attention. There are usually 3 or 4 guys nodding off in the back and others looking anxious for the session to be over. But the workshops on the theme of forgiving the fathers are never dull. The room is filled with tension. You can read the stress on the faces of the grown men who did not have a father present growing up. You have to be careful about what you say. To a man who was abandoned by his father, the very idea of forgiveness brings up a deep rage. There is normally some yelling, crying, and often the possibility of physical confrontation. That is how strongly men feel about this. They may hide their feelings from a woman, but they are there. In respect to men who are abandoned by their fathers, there are 2 conditions. The first is when they have reconnected with the father and maintain some level of commerce with him, even if it's just to visit on the holidays. The second condition is when they refuse to speak to the father or do not know his whereabouts. It is the second condition that is the problem. If a woman is in a relationship with a man who is still angry with his father, there are certain things she needs to know. Such a man can be fine as a mate and may treat you as good as gold. In fact, he may even try to compensate for the wrongs other men have done. But the woman would do well to keep her eyes open. There are some minefields there, and she would do better not to accidentally set one off. Of course, we all have our private issues and minefields, and these men are no worse or no better than others. However, men who grow up angry with their fathers have a particular issue or hindrance. As a boy growing up, they learn to obey and respect women, but not men to the same degree. Information and wisdom that normally passes from male, hold on, information and wisdom that normally passes from male degree. Oh, information and wisdom that normally passes from male from degree. Information and wisdom that
No, it's male to male.
I'm
I
like,
think they're missing the
I'm like, it don't sound right. Okay.
yeah.
From male to male does not get to them as easily. This may not sound like much, but take my word, it is a very significant thing. This hampers them in some strange ways. Some men are naturally very resistant to male authority figures. It is just their personality. Others resist other males as a result of a psychosis, a belief that all men are inherently flawed. If they become policemen, they believe certain types of men are evil and cannot be reformed. If teachers, they believe some male students can not learn no matter what. They are often suspicious of the motives of other men. Even so, this does not stop them from making friends or having a normal relationship. There are so many ways this may present itself in a relationship that we cannot characterize it in one model. But I would advise any female in this situation to look into the dynamic of this father issue. If he ever gets the opportunity to patch things up with his father, do encourage it. In family issues, be careful not to side with members of his family against him, not even as a joke. The father issue will probably come up in your relationship indirectly. It will not show up as a conflict between you and him. Do not place yourself in between him and the object of his anger. Stay out of the way. And if you can, try to get close enough to him that he may one day feel safe to talk to you about it. So we got 3 more pages. I'm just gonna go for it. The basis for hope. When I speak at events, the most common question on the lips of women is there any real reason why I should believe that my aspirations for a soulmate relationship will come to be? Tell me why I should get my hopes up. When one considers the attitudes men and women bring with them to the table, it can make one pause. Of course, most women look around to them. Most women look around them and see nothing but relationship failure. And for many devoted women, the nights and weekends hold little promise of satisfaction or relief from tension. Many women are so busy trying not to let the children down, trying not to let their husbands down, that their own future no longer looks bright. Often she is the last defense against collapse of the family unit. And I can tell you with assurance that no one in their right mind on earth or in heaven wants to see her fail. Her daily routine sometimes consists of unfulfilling work in a company run by people who have clearly lost their minds. And she may come home to ungrateful kids and a husband who falls asleep watching the late show. The fact is that nature has empowered women so much, she has no idea just how powerful a being she is. The only way that a woman can fail is if they stop following the natural plan. A woman cannot fail unless she intentionally abandons her own, unless she intentionally abandons her feminine gifts. And for some reason, that is exactly what some women are doing. And if women continue to go through life without using all the tools nature gave her, the outcome will not change. First, women as a group should start to take some responsibility for how things got this way. When they do not, when they do, that hope starts. And then we must recognize that the wisdom to set things right is here. It has always been here and waiting for people to use it. And then she needs to look around and see that many men want to love her. That is their intention. Hope lies in finding those men and surrounding herself with them. Sooner or later, one of those men will notice her and turn her intention into reality. There is hope when she considers the law. The law of attraction says that if she broadcasts the right energy out, the right energy will come back to her. This is the law. It has always worked and it will work for her. There is also the law of manifestation. In a nutshell, the law of manifestation says that each of us is always in the process of creating our future based on the beliefs that we hold in our consciousness today. What we visualize and think and imagine and anticipate tends to shape our future reality. These visions and beliefs seep into our subconscious mind. There, they are broadcast into the matrix. Our planetary matrix is the sum or composite of all these dreams, thoughts, visions, and belief systems. The powers of nature use this matrix as the template or model in designing what the future reality of man will be like. This is the really short explanation. But it is saying that a woman or man can shape and influence their own destiny. There are limitations, of course. There are influence in their own destiny. Oh, I went back. Hold on. But it is saying that a woman or man can shape and influence their own destiny. There are limitations, of course. There are other people around us who help to shape out reality. But more and more people are shifting to a mindset of harmony on this earth. The green movement is rising. The organic movement is coming on strong. And the people are waking up. We have seen an era of civil rights and an era of spiritual rights is coming. There is more to it, of course, and karma is a vital component, and the degree to which your vision or thought matches the divine plan has a bearing on how it shapes the matrix. Your sexual energy determines the power. Your vision has to change the matrix. And this is the woman's trump card. For the sexual energy, which is often the source of so much trouble, is also the force that can heal and change. We have been in a sexual dark age, but that veil is lifted for anyone who has the wisdom to look beyond. We have placed our faith in money and material things, but many now see that we must move beyond that. The solutions are at our fingertips. We just need to grasp them and go to work. There's more than just hope. People are finding their way to happiness every day. It is an extraordinary time we live in. Join an awakening circle or some group and start to make this your reality. Talk to men in college and see how fast their eyes glaze over once you start to talk about the serious side of relationships. So many men have put up the old male force field. No real emotions come through. No real investments in females are allowed. Men make the best compromise they can without bringing down the force field. No Jedi mind trick of the female can disable his force field. You can have that Coke bottle shape and wear tight jeans all you want to, but it still will not penetrate into his heart. So many men have pulled back and are hiding behind an emotional shield. If a woman is thinking about breaking through the male force field, she really needs to really understand that table of validation. Give out the validation and demand it in return. The relationship battle is not hopeless. Most men recognize they are not naturally among the group of select men as defined by a majority of women. To be included, they need to wear a mask. So most men recognize that they fall short of the abstract standards of manhood. Each man has a vision in this mind. Each man has a vision of this in his mind. And they say they do not care, but on some level, they really do. In the back of our minds, remember that the opposite sex wants what we want underneath all the facades and masks. When you plumb through to the rock bottom of a man's soul, he wants more than anything to love you. Okay, so we got a life episode. It's just one.
You want me to finish?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, life episodes, The Anguish of Non-Select Men. Audrey, Kim, Erica, and Jennifer met in college and remained in contact for some years through the College Alumni Association. Audrey married William shortly after college and is still married. Erica married after college and later got a divorce. Now in her 30s, she is in a relationship with Kenneth that she believes will result in marriage. Jennifer has never been married. She has lived a little in the fast lane and admits that she has made mostly bad choices when it comes to picking a mate. Her relationships have been, for the most part, short, unpleasant, and filled with disappointment. Now in her 30s, she does not trust men easily and has very low expectations of men. Her financial situation is poor, and for the most part, her encounters with men now are about sexual gratification and gaining access to the good life through the men she dates. Kim never married after college, but she wants to get married more than anything. But of all four women, she has had the worst experience with men. She was in one long-term relationship in her 20s that ended very badly. After being together for over 1 year, he ended their relationship over what she thought was a small argument. He never came back, and she discovered that the whole time he was with her, he was also seeing one of her female acquaintances. And there were signs that and there were signs that there were other women. This one experience was a severe blow to Kim, and in the months after, she gained 40 pounds. For Kim's, for almost 5 years, Kim had almost no sexual activity. The bright spot in Kim's life has been her career. She is now the head of her department in a mid sized retail company and makes a good 6 figure income. Over the years, these four women have come into contact with many men. Women routinely rate men and assign them into two categories: the select men and the non select men, according to criteria. Audrey is still married to William. He is considered the select. Erica is dating Kenneth, considered by most women as non select. And there are also Charles, Andrew, and Marvin. Charles is, by most accounts, considered one of the select men. He drove a new Mercedes and lived in a very large house on the good side of town. Charles was an old associate of Jennifer's. Andrew and Marvin were considered by most women as being the non select category. They were regular guys, and each had pulled back emotionally from women. Normally, the select men and the non select men do not socialize together. When Charles first met Jennifer, he thought she was attractive and wished to have sex with her. But after getting to know her, he decided against this. Jennifer also thought that Charles was okay as a friend, but did not wish to be intimate with him. They remained as friends, but did not communicate much. Andrew is divorced. Andrew had some sexual issues and has trouble keeping a good job. He went from one job to another and could not find where he belonged. Marvin lacked self confidence and had esteem issues. He was a nice guy, but not very aggressive when it came to women. Andrew and Marvin were associates of Audrey and Kenneth. For the last 7 years, Audrey, Kim, Erica, and Jennifer have only seen each other twice each year at alumni events. But this is all about to change because of a chance meeting at a charity event. It was an event to raise money for Audrey's favorite charity. At the event, Audrey and William ran into two old friends, Marvin and Andrew. William was surprised to see them there. This event was a little above their pay grade. As it happened, Charles and Kenneth were also at the same event. The event was being held in a reserved area of a private club. In one room off from the main event was a large screen television, and the game was playing. Some of the men gathered there to watch the game, and soon many men had gathered there, including William, Kenneth, Charles, Marvin, and Andrew. It was one of those rare times when the select men and the non-select men were hanging out together. When the game ended, a general conversation started amongst the men present. At first, the talk was about sports, but it soon switched to the single woman at the event. And then a very interesting thing happened. Charles, a man from the select group, started to relate a story about a woman who had recently come to see him. She showed up at his door late at night with a fur coat on and only panties underneath. She proceeded to provide Charles with an evening of provocative entertainment. Kenneth heard the story but did not believe it. Kenneth felt that Charles made the whole story up to pump himself up. So Kenneth, a man from the non-select group, challenged the authenticity of Charles's story. Kenneth, who was dating Erica, did not believe anything like that had ever happened to Charles because it had never happened to him. An intense argument followed that soon engulfed all the men in the room. The men from the non select group sided with Kenneth. They refused to believe a woman would just show up at some man's door with only panties on. It was something that only happened in the movies, they said. But then but the men from the select group sided with Charles. These men insisted that women did risque stuff like this all the time. Basically, Kenneth and Marvin challenged Charles and other men about the account. It was the select men against the non select men. Finally, Charles became fed up. He excused himself and went out into the main room. In a few minutes, Charles returned with two attractive women by his side. After an introduction and some background conversation, Charles proceeded to tell the same story he had told the men to the two ladies. When he finished, he asked the ladies if they had ever done anything like that and why. The first lady told all the men in the room of an almost identical account. She says she always did something risque at the beginning of all her relationships to set the tone. The second lady would not talk about her own personal stories, but she did tell the men something one of her girlfriends had done. The episodes were steamy and hot. Charles was vindicated. Marvin and Kenneth had to concede. Then the men from the select group began to make fun of the men there from the non select group who had doubted the story. Smiling, they asked Kenneth why no woman had ever done anything special to him. They asked if he was very religious or conservative, basically making fun of him. And they joked about Kenneth, basically saying that the reason no woman had ever showed up half naked at his door was because he did not know what to do with it if they did. The jokes started to fly between the men. At first, it was just fun, and even Marvin laughed, but this changed when one of the ladies slipped and made the wrong comment. She said jokingly her friends only did things like that to certain men, not all men. Her comment was intended to defend her friends. It was not directed at Kenneth, but as soon as she said it, all the men looked at Kenneth and his face said it all. She tried to clean it up, but it did not help. Kenneth was cut deeply, but he had always known that women treated him differently than most men. He was just a nice guy, not sexy or rich like some other men. It was a sore spot, and the lady had opened the wound up wide. Kenneth stood up and, without comment, just walked out the room. Marvin followed Kenneth to the bar. The two men sat at the bar and talked about how regular guys get treated by women, how unfair they thought that players get all the excitement, while nice guys like them were lucky to get any action at all. Kenneth said, "What really bothers me is my woman does not think I'm worthy of a little special treatment. I feel second class, man." Kenneth confided to Marvin that Erica never even wore any sexy underwear or did anything adventurous. Erica had never really done anything exciting in their relationship. When Kenneth made discreet hints to Erica, she accused him of not being spiritual. She made Kenneth feel perverted for just wanting a little erotic play. Kenneth got into trouble yesterday for being late from the market. The repercussions of this incident would spread beyond this event. The men in the room retold the whole incident involving Kenneth to their dates. Everyone was laughing at Kenneth. The story reached the ears of Audrey. She was furious. Audrey turned to William and asked him why he had done nothing to stop this from happening. The relationship between Kenneth and Erica was shaky right now, and Erica was stressed to the maximum about it. The timing could not be worse. Audrey feared that Kenneth would blame Erica and pull back. William had not thought about that. Audrey was right. The impact from this chance incident between Kenneth and Charles did not end when the event was over. Kenneth pulled back from Erica and did not call her for a week. After 7 days and no contact with Kenneth, Erica was a powder keg ready to explode. When she finally reached Kenneth's friend Marvin, he did not have anything good to say. Marvin had never seen Kenneth so depressed. Erica had invested so much in this thing with Kenneth, and if it went sour, she was not sure how she could go forward. In gross desperation, she turned her wrath on Audrey and Jennifer. Erica believed that Jennifer was the woman Charles was talking about, who had showed up with only panties and a fur coat on. Jennifer was known to do stuff like that. Erica blamed Audrey for just hosting the event. Erica's friends were gathered at her house to support her. She would not eat and could not sleep. There was concern that she might do something to herself. William and Audrey argued about the incident all week. When Kim heard about the drama, she was upset at Audrey because Audrey had not invited her. Kim was taken off the list automatically by the computer because she had not attended in the last 3 years. But Kim felt it was personal. Kim felt it was because she made more in salary than the 3 women put together. Maybe it was because she had refused to loan money to Audrey a few years back. Audrey and Jennifer were always meeting new men, and they always had plenty of male friends. They claimed to be Kim's friend, but they always had an excuse why they never introduced Kim to any of their male friends. Kim wondered if it was because of her weight. It was not like this in college. Kim wished they would go back to Kim wished they could just go back to the college days. Jennifer was going through a very tough time. Why now? She thought. Erica was one of the few friends Jennifer could count on. Why this drama now? It was so unfair. Erica was her lifeline. Erica had been there for her in the last few weeks. Without Erica, she did not know if she would have made it. Why did that fool Charles have to tell that old story? She thought. Jennifer and Charles had never even slept together. It was about another woman, not her. Erica was crazy about Kenneth. In fact, Erica was so crazy about Kenneth that Jennifer avoided even meeting him. She did not want to even take the chance that Kenneth might look at her the wrong way and make Erica jealous. Erica was too sensitive and jealous. It had to do with her brush with death and the fear that Kenneth might be the last opportunity for Erica to find happiness. It was just a feeling Erica had. Now Jennifer was being blamed, and she was not even at the charity event. Jennifer felt that if Kenneth pulled back, it would devastate Erica, and Erica would take it out on Jennifer. Everyone always took it out on Jennifer. That's how Jennifer felt. A joking comment made at a charity event now threatened the friendship of four women. Every day that Kenneth did not call, the tension built up between Audrey, Erica, Jennifer, and Kim. In the hard times, it was Erica who always held them down, but now Erica was at the crossroads. Kim was the only one removed enough from the incident to pull the group back together. Kenneth was plain on the outside, but had a heart of gold. He made Erica laugh, and he was always helping people. Erica thought the world of him. How could this have happened? How could it be fixed? End of episode. That was like, I'm sitting here trying to figure out who was with who was with who. That was a lot. Who was a couple? I That got very confusing for me. I'm sorry.
I'm thinking that I was unmuted. Yeah, the whole chapter was a lot. It really was. So I'm gonna have to play it back. I feel like I missed important parts.
Yeah.
Just diving into the man part of it, the yang, just him saying that men are becoming more yin. I've said this over the years,
Mm-hmm.
and men don't like to hear it, but it's just like, yeah, y'all become more of talkers and doers. Not being funny, but when we talk about world events and things that happen, um, from my point of view, people I know, based on my timelines, more so have become the victim of all these things instead of the warrior, like he speaks about. And so it's a lot. It's a lot to digest. And it's like, okay, where do we go from here?
Yeah. I mean, if anything from this last story, it really kind of shed some light on the dynamic, how, you know, one person of the opposite sex can just change the dynamic of just even friendships even.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just
Yeah,
very intricate details and very sensitive matter around relationships.
yeah, and how and it is true. Some women will marry and have no respect for the man, because they don't deem him as what they really want.
Hmm.
And so to the point where he's at a whole party and extra sensitive about no woman have ever done anything spontaneous for him. But again, it goes back to what signal is he putting out.
Mm-hmm.
And so the man at the party said, "Are you heavily religious?" And what else did he say? Religious or
What did he say? Religious or um what was it?
let me look. He said, "Are you religious or?"
Conservative.
Mm-hmm. So,
Religious or conservative.
so that's what it made me think. Like, what signal are you putting out? Can somebody pull up to your house with just pants on and you just gonna unlock the levels? That's what it is. But yeah, we got through it, y'all. That was very long. I'm thankful. I'm grateful we got this done.
Woohoo.
we wanted to make sure we complete this process, and
Yeah.
so it was just a matter of the commitment to each other as far as the time is concerned. We both are mothers that spend a lot of time with our seeds when it's just us, and so
Mm-hmm.
that's how we went from morning to night.
Mm-hmm. It was like in whatever capacity we take care of, the children first and then prioritize this afterwards. So I'm grateful this was that we were able to just travel this path together and really, dedicate the time holding each other accountable because we need that.
Hmm.
Um
And getting to know
amongst
each other.
our sisters, like let's hold each other accountable without charging it to not everybody that calls you out on your shit is a hater. Now
Right.
don't get me wrong, there are some, but like this is why it's important to just kind of like explore the self and heal the self at the deepest level. And there's nothing wrong with having a support system because you're not alone. We're not alone in this healing journey. We're really not. And we're not much different from each other. Um, you know, trauma is trauma and healing is healing, whatever that is that you're healing from. So,
Yeah. It's,
um,
it's been awesome. Like I say, I appreciated the vulnerability, especially on Wednesday night. Something I did not want to. I didn't want to rock the boat, and Wednesday night ended up being a success. It was just more intimate, and
mhm.
so being able to heal with a group of women is very special to me. And I can't make this up. I pulled the. Is that clear?
Does that say healing?
Healing,
Wow.
the geranium card, and it is for healing. And it says that, well, first of all, it always has a gardening quote because it's a gardening oracle deck, and it says gardening is cheaper than therapy, and you get tomatoes. And so it says it's a time to take everyone's opinion into account. And while you may need to make a compromise, there should be a good outcome. Geraniums indicate you need to take time out to care for yourself and to connect more fully with your higher and lower self. Cooperation with others and creativity in groups are also needed,
Mm,
while intolerance and self indulgence are to be avoided. So it's still bringing back to building community and how we took this book and started our little own community or tribe of people that were interested in healing their relationships and holding each other accountable. And so, yeah, it's good. It was good. 13 is always good.
That's
All right,
awesome.
y'all. We're gonna get out of here. We both got eyes that are burning.
Burning.
I started to say, you know what? Let's just come back. Oh, peace and power. No more plug. We're out of here.
Ah. All right, peace, y'all. Be blessed.
Peace, abundance.